I sat at the Thanksgiving table with a broken collarbone and a black eye, while my brother sat across from me, joking about his new golf clubs. Like he hadn't been the one who shoved me down a flight of stairs 2 days ago. My mother was fussing over the gravy, asking me if I wanted more stuffing as if the bruising on my face was just a trick of the light. No one asked how I felt. No one asked why I was wearing a sling, and no one mentioned the police report I had filed that morning. The clinking of silverware against china was the only sound in the room whenever I tried to catch someone's eye, a collective agreement to maintain the delusion of a happy family. It was a tradition in our house to bury the truth under layers of politeness and mashed potatoes. My brother Kevin has always had a violent streak, but because he was the successful one with the big house and the fancy title, my parents refused to see him as anything other than their perfect son. When he lost his temper at the pre-holiday dinner and sent me crashing into the basement, my father had simply told me I should have been more careful where I was standing. Now sitting here in pain, I realized that the bruises on my skin were less painful than the silence of the people who were supposed to protect me. Kevin reached for the wine bottle, his hand steady and his expression bored. "You're awfully quiet today," he said, looking right at me with a mocking glint in his eyes. "Are you still upset about that little trip you took?" My mother laughed, a nervous, high-pitched sound that made my teeth ache. "Oh, you know how clumsy she is, Kevin. She's always been a bit of a disaster." I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw the fear behind her eyes. She wasn't ignoring it because she didn't care. She was ignoring it because acknowledging it would mean her life was a lie, and she didn't have the courage to face that. I put my fork down, the sound echoing in the sudden quiet. "I'm not clumsy," I said, my voice low and firm. "Kevin pushed me because I wouldn't lend him money to cover his second mortgage." My father slammed his hand on the table, making the glasses rattle. "That is enough," he barked. "We are having a nice dinner and I will not have you ruining it with your drama. If you can't be civil, you can leave." He didn't tell Kevin to be civil. He didn't tell Kevin to apologize. He told the victim to stop making the aggressor feel uncomfortable. It was the final confirmation I needed. I stood up, the movement sending a sharp bolt of pain through my shoulder, and looked at each of them in turn. "I'm leaving and I'm not coming back," I told them. "The police will be contacting Kevin tomorrow, and I've already given them the medical records." My mother started to cry then, but she didn't move toward me. She moved toward Kevin, clutching his arm as if he were the one in danger. I walked out of the house without my coat, the cold November air feeling like a blessing compared to the suffocating heat of that dining room. I could hear my father shouting behind me about how ungrateful I was, but the words didn't reach me anymore. I drove away from that house and didn't look in the rearview mirror once. I spent the next several months in physical therapy, healing the bones that had been broken, but the emotional healing took much longer. I had to accept that I was an orphan of choice, that the family I wanted didn't exist and never had. Kevin eventually had to settle a civil suit that cost him more than the money he had tried to take from me, and my parents haven't called me since the day I left. Sometimes I still feel the phantom pain in my shoulder when it rains, but I never feel the weight of their silence anymore.